Let's talk about 2009. That's our topic today. We're going to talk about you coming back into the company. Let's just jump right into it. On the Observer that was dated November 9th, 2009, Dave wrote, lots of talk about where Jeff Jarrett fits in with the new regime. Jarrett is doing his first match in a long time, wrestling on November 14th in Princeton, Kentucky for West Kentucky Championship Wrestling, facing Dutch Mantell. This is interesting to me because you didn't take a lot of indie bookings back then. How does this come about? Are you trying to work off some ring rust with somebody that you know, like, and trust, or is there more to it than that?
No, when I was like, okay, that's in November of 2009, it was a Dutch deal. Dutch, I mean, the short answer is, hey, Dutch, Jeff, this is Dutch talking. Will you come work? You get to wrestle me. So you can imagine it was a walk and talk night, mission accomplished. But no, that was a Dutch deal. It was truly a one-off.
We've mentioned it before, but in the meantime, Dixie's going to make a pretty controversial move in giving a fairly out-of-pocket speech to the roster and airing it on TV. I actually broke that down recently with Eric Bischoff, and we talked about it. And I think we landed on this was probably written by Vince Russo. Just the way it was framed and positioned, it felt like a Russo idea. A big negative, just saying had his sort of fingerprints on it. Meltzer would say the following week in The Observer, the belief is that Dixie Carter is going to become a television character as the owner, whether she'll work with Hulk Hogan or feud with him, and where Mick Foley fits in as an executive shareholder, and whether Eric Bischoff becomes a television character will all likely be apparent in a few weeks. Now, Jeff, at this point, you've been working with Dixie for a while. Did you have any indication she wanted to be on TV prior to this?
Well,
why are you laughing?
It's just because we're 2.5 years in, right?
She came in a lot earlier than that, didn't she?
No.
Oh, you and I.
Yeah, the podcast. I think this has been, from a staff point of view, is because we try to keep a different cadence of TNA and WWF. Just keep the topics rotating. Make sure that we never talk college football or none of that nonsense. We try to stay laser focused. Conrad likes to go on tangents, gets long-winded from time to time. But this topic right here, just kind of this era, we've kind of touched on it. Now this is an episode that I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and there's going to be not a lot of in-ring discussion. But to kind of jump off, I was wondering, how are we going to jump off into this? And this is the jumping off point. So, gosh, Conrad, your question was, did I have any idea that she wanted to be on TV? The short answer would be yes, but I had hindsight on this episode is really 2020. But I thought it, but I had no real clue how bad she really wanted to. From about, I don't know, 2006, 2007, and I'm just trying to think, because Russo from time to time would say, hey, bro, she just wants to be, maybe a little bit here and there. And I'm just like, Vince and Dutch would agree with me. Borash would agree with people in the room. There would be debate. And I kept going back to, hey, guys, I really want you to understand the position I'm in, because I've been around long enough. And Vince, you think you've been around long enough, but I don't think you're going to have a clue to the can of worms you're opening up. And the reason I say that is, this is the investor's daughter, period. So you can't have her as a bit player. You can't have her, hey, we're going to use it this week. No, we're not going to use you for the next 3 months. That don't work. I mean, she's the daughter of the majority owner. It just goes without saying. So Vince had come to me off and on for a couple of years, and I just, look, she never once, not one time, asked, hey, Jeff, can I be on TV? Can I have a role? Can I do this? Conrad, not one time. I want to be clear on that, not one time. But she would either have Vince, and to this day, I don't really know if Vince put Vince up to it, or Vince was just hearing in the conversations and, hey, bro, here's kind of an idea and all this. And I said, Vince, I just don't think it's a good idea, because it changes the dynamic of everything. if we're producing a wrestling show to put butts in seats and create revenue, she's not going to be taking bumps. What is the payoff? It just kind of all that kind of thought process. And so she never, but I had an inkling, but boy, did I find out. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead. I didn't really know Conrad until this era that we're about to seeing. And you know, Conrad, let me ask you a question. And Dave, if you don't mind, put that graphic back up of this meeting that took place. So I was, quote unquote, as the sheets reported it, I was sent home during this time. So when they shot this, I was called at home. And, how it's described to me was exactly how this looks. That the headmaster of the school walked in and had a conversation with the high school, the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and the teachers were behind. And I just said, what a way to completely downgrade your talent. You put them all up in a bleachers. And they, and I got a couple of calls on this, and they, quote unquote, they weren't supposed to be calling me. They weren't supposed to be talking to me, all that nonsense that was put out. But this was the first inkling where I went, okay, she gave this speech, and I don't remember all the ins and outs, and they filmed it, and they gave it a lighting treatment. Oh, boy, here we go.
The segment, of course, we know with the benefit of hindsight. I mean, according to the discussions you had in 2013, or at least Dave Meltzer reported it as such, that the reason you were unsuccessful in your venture with Toby Keith to purchase TNA is because some folks in Dallas were insistent that Dixie remain a television character. Is that the way you remember it?
That was reported, but Uncle Dave, and look, he probably, or maybe he did, maybe he fabricated, maybe heard that. Not one time during that entire negotiation from February of 2013 until December of 2013, not one time was that brought up. Not one time any of that. Matter of fact, it wasn't even brought up what kind of position she was going to have. At the end of the day, Bob Carter completely understood that whoever comes in and runs this is going to do the same thing that I do. I'm going to, he spent his money. And so if I'm the lead investor, I get to do what I want to do. And he wasn't willing. He was willing to completely lose his investment as opposed to give up control. So it was never, I mean, never, even when I asked Toby, when they went behind my back and flew up to Oak City, the lawyer and Janice, to have a meeting and basically say, hey, we want you on board, but Jeff can't be attached. And that meeting lasted less than 15 minutes. But even in that short meeting, Dixie's name was never brought up.